Sarah Mitchell's hands trembled as she stared at the rejection letter for the third time that morning. The Colorado State Shooting Federation had denied her application to join their Elite Precision Marksmanship Program, citing insufficient, recent competition experience, and concerns about physical readiness following documented injury. Through her small apartment window in Pine Ridge, she could see the distant peaks of the Rocky Mountains where the Mountain View shooting complex sat like a fortress, seemingly as unreachable as those snow-capped summits. What they didn't know was that in exactly 6 months, those same mountains would witness something unprecedented in competitive shooting history. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The rejection letter felt heavier than it should have in Sarah's weathered hands. At 28, she had already lived through more setbacks than most athletes face in entire careers. The faded newspaper clipping on her kitchen table told us different story than the Federation's dismissive response. College shooting sensation Sarah Mitchell leads state, University to National Championship, read the headline from 4 years ago. In the accompanying photo, a younger Sarah held a gleaming trophy, her smile radiant with possibility. That was before the accident that shattered her left shoulder and, according to many, her competitive dreams. The morning sun cast long shadows across her modest apartment as Sarah prepared for another day at Precision Sports Outfitters, the local sporting goods store where she had worked since her medical discharge from the university team. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror revealed the subtle changes that marked her journey. The confident posture of her college days had given way to a slight protective hunch of her left shoulder. Her eyes, once bright with competitive fire, now carried the weight of constant pain and diminished expectations. Sarah's daily routine had become a careful balance of medication timing and physical therapy exercises. The pins and screws holding her shoulder together served as permanent reminders of that rainy night when a drunk driver had crossed the center line, ending her scholarship and forcing her to abandon everything she had worked toward. The doctors had been optimistic about her recovery, speaking of percentages and probability of regaining function. What they couldn't quantify was the psychological impact of losing the identity that had defined her since childhood. Working at the sporting goods store provided some connection to her former world, though it often felt like watching life through glass. Young shooters would come in with their parents, eyes bright with the same dreams she had once carried. She would help them select equipment, sharing technical knowledge while carefully avoiding mention of her own background. The weight of their rifles in her hands awakened muscle memory that her injured shoulder could no longer fully support. The Mountain View shooting complex dominated the horizon from almost every angle in Pine Ridge. Sarah passed it twice daily. On her commute, watching other athletes arrive with their equipment cases in confident strides. The facility represented everything she had lost access to when her scholarship ended and medical bills consumed her savings. Public ranges were accessible, but the specialized training and competition opportunities she needed to rebuild her career remained locked behind membership fees and program requirements she could no longer meet. Sarah's injury had been more than physical trauma. The accident had occurred during her senior year, just months before graduation and professional opportunities. Insurance had covered immediate medical expenses, but the extended rehabilitation and specialized training required for competitive shooting fell outside standard coverage. Her family, already struggling financially, had sacrificed considerably to support her initial recovery. Asking for more felt impossible, creating an isolation that extended beyond physical limitations. The rejection letter specifically mentioned her 18-month gap in formal competition. What it didn't acknowledge was that this gap resulted from circumstances beyond her control, not lack of dedication or skill. Sarah had continued practicing on public ranges when pain levels permitted, adapting her technique to accommodate her physical limitations. She had developed new approaches to managing recoil and had actually improved her consistency in some areas. None of this mattered to institutions that valued recent results over adaptive innovation. Director Marcus Webb's signature appeared at the bottom of the rejection letter, though Sarah suspected he had never personally reviewed her application. Webb's reputation in Colorado shooting circles was built on producing champions and maintaining exclusive standards. The Elite Precision Marksmanship Program attracted top talent from across the region, creating a competitive environment that Webb carefully controlled. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. His philosophy emphasized traditional methods and preferred candidates who fit established patterns of success. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah that her college performance had exceeded most current program participants. Her university records remained unbroken 4 years later, and her technical knowledge had actually expanded during her recovery period. She had studied advanced ballistics, learned about equipment modifications, and developed analytical approaches that complemented her natural shooting ability. Yet institutional barriers prevented her from demonstrating these enhanced capabilities. Pine Ridge's shooting community was small enough that Sarah's situation was well known. Local range officers and store customers often expressed sympathy, while avoiding direct discussion of her exclusion from elite programs. This careful dance around her circumstances created an atmosphere of polite acknowledgement without genuine support. People seemed to view her story as a cautionary tale rather than an opportunity for comeback narrative. Sarah's apartment served as a shrine to her former achievements, mixed with practical accommodations for her current reality. Trophies and medals occupied one shelf, while the opposite wall held a specialized exercise chart for shoulder rehabilitation. Her equipment had been modified with custom grips and adjustable components that allowed her to maintain shooting form despite reduced mobility. These adaptations represented hundreds of hours of experimentation and thousands of dollars in modifications. The sporting goods store job provided minimal income, but offered access to industry connections and equipment deals. Sarah had become the unofficial expert on adaptive shooting equipment, helping other athletes with disabilities find solutions. This expertise had attracted attention from manufacturers interested in developing new products, though none of these relationships had translated into competitive opportunities. Her technical knowledge was valued while her competitive potential remained overlooked. Range Officer Kyle Harrison frequently visited the store, ostensibly for equipment purchases but clearly enjoying opportunities to discuss shooting techniques with someone who understood advanced concepts. Harrison worked closely with Director Webb and had access to program information that he sometimes shared in carefully neutral terms. His visits felt like reconnaissance missions, gathering information about Sarah's current capabilities while maintaining professional distance. During one of Harrison's visits, Sarah had mentioned her interest in the Elite program, hoping for insight about reapplication possibilities. His response had been diplomatically discouraging, explaining that program slots were extremely limited and typically reserved for athletes with current competitive rankings. He suggested focusing on regional competitions to rebuild her resume, though both knew her financial constraints made extensive travel impossible. The rejection letter represented more than program denial. It symbolized systemic barriers that prevented comeback stories. Sarah's injury had placed her outside traditional pathways for elite training, creating a cycle where lack of recent success prevented access to opportunities needed for future success. The Federation's emphasis on current performance metrics ignored the reality that some athletes needed supportive environments to rebuild careers after setbacks. Sarah's determination had been tested repeatedly throughout her recovery, but the rejection letter sparked something different. Rather than resignation, she felt a familiar competitive fire that had been dormant since her accident. The letters Condescending tone and dismissive reasoning awakened her college mentality, when challenges had motivated rather than defeated her. She began researching alternative pathways to demonstrate her capabilities and force recognition of her potential. The research revealed that the Colorado State Shooting Federation held quarterly exhibitions where records could be officially recorded, regardless of program membership. These events were open to any licensed shooter willing to pay entry fees and submit to official supervision. More importantly, records set during these exhibitions carried equal weight with those achieved during formal competition. This represented a potential backdoor to proving her capabilities. Sarah's financial situation made entry fees significant investments, but she calculated that demonstrating exceptional performance at multiple exhibitions might force program reconsideration. The strategy required careful planning and significant risk, as poor performance would confirm doubts about her readiness. However, the alternative was accepting permanent exclusion from competitive shooting, which felt like surrendering her identity. The decision to pursue this strategy marked a turning point in Sarah's recovery journey. For months, she had focused on accommodating limitations and managing expectations. Now she began preparing for excellence, developing training programs that emphasized her strengths while compensating for physical constraints. The shift from defensive to offensive mindset energized her rehabilitation efforts and renewed her sense of purpose. Sarah's modified training approach emphasized consistency over power, accuracy over speed. Her injured shoulder prevented some traditional techniques, but forced innovation in others. She developed breathing patterns that optimized her natural rhythm and learned to use equipment modifications as advantages rather than accommodations. These adaptations created a unique shooting style that was arguably more refined than her college technique. The Mountain View Shooting Complex began to represent possibility rather than exclusion. Sarah started planning her exhibition strategy, identifying events where she could attempt multiple records and maximize impact. The facilities, advanced equipment, and measurement systems would provide undeniable documentation of her performance. More importantly, the exhibitions were attended by Federation officials who would witness her achievements firsthand. As autumn approached, Sarah's preparation intensified. Her work schedule at the sporting goods store became secondary to training, though she carefully maintained employment to fund her comeback attempt. Colleagues noticed changes in her demeanor and energy levels. The defeated acceptance that had characterized her recent months was replaced by focused determination that reminded longtime customers of her competitive days. The rejection letter remained pinned to Sarah's refrigerator, no longer as a symbol of defeat but as motivation for what was to come. Every morning, she read Marcus Webb's dismissive words and Kyle Harrison's bureaucratic explanations, using their doubt as fuel for increasingly demanding training sessions. The letter had inadvertently provided exactly what Sarah needed: a clear target for proving wrong and a specific standard to exceed. Sarah's story was about to shift from accommodation to domination, from seeking inclusion to demanding recognition. The same mountains that had witnessed her accident and recovery would soon observe something remarkable. The Elite Precision Marksmanship Program's exclusive standards and traditional preferences were about to encounter an athlete who had transformed limitation into innovation and rejection into determination. The rejection letter would prove to be the catalyst for achievements that would reshape Colorado shooting history. Part 2. The Exhibition Challenge. The quarterly exhibition registration opened at precisely 8 a.m. on a crisp October morning. Sarah had been waiting outside the Mountain View Shooting Complex since dawn, her breath creating small clouds in the thin mountain air. The facility's imposing glass and steel structure reflected the early sunlight, casting geometric shadows. Across the parking lot where she stood alone, other shooters would likely register online from the comfort of their homes, but Sarah wanted to submit her application in person, to make her presence known and her intentions clear. The registration office bustled with administrative activity. As Sarah approached the counter, a young receptionist named Jennifer looked up with practiced courtesy, though her expression shifted slightly when she recognized Sarah from local shooting circles. Everyone in Pine Ridge knew about the former college champion who now worked retail, though few understood the full scope of her circumstances or ambitions. "I'd like to register for the Winter Exhibition Series," Sarah announced, placing her paperwork on the counter with steady hands. The application included event selections that raised Jennifer's eyebrows: precision rifle at multiple distances, rapid-fire accuracy challenges, and specialized technique demonstrations. Most participants focused on single events, but Sarah had selected competitions across every discipline where records could be established. Jennifer processed the registration with increasing curiosity, noting the comprehensive nature of Sarah's entry. The fee structure for multiple events created a significant financial burden, yet Sarah paid without hesitation, using carefully saved funds from months of overtime shifts. Each registration represented a calculated investment in forcing recognition of her capabilities. Director Marcus Webb emerged from his office as Jennifer completed the paperwork, drawn by the unusual nature of the registration. His presence created an immediate tension as he reviewed Sarah's selections with undisguised skepticism. Webb's reputation for maintaining program exclusivity was built on carefully controlling who received opportunities to demonstrate excellence, and Sarah's comprehensive entry challenged his gatekeeping authority. "Ms. Mitchell," Webb acknowledged with polite formality, "this is quite an ambitious registration. Are you certain you want to attempt this many events? The exhibition format doesn't allow for withdrawal or schedule modifications once entries are confirmed." His tone carried subtle discouragement, suggesting that overreaching might damage her reputation more than enhance it. Sarah met his gaze directly, recognizing the psychological pressure behind his seemingly helpful concern. "I'm confident in my preparations, Director Webb. I believe the exhibition format provides an excellent opportunity to demonstrate current capabilities rather than relying on outdated assessments." Her response was carefully neutral while making clear that she understood the implications of his earlier rejection. Webb's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly at her reference to outdated assessments, though he maintained professional composure. He had built his career on identifying talent and predicting performance, and Sarah's persistence challenged his judgment in a way that felt personally threatening. Her comprehensive registration suggested confidence levels that contradicted his evaluation of her post-injury limitations. The exchange attracted attention from Range Officer Kyle Harrison, who had been observing from across the lobby. Harrison's relationship with both Webb and Sarah created a complex dynamic, where professional obligations conflicted with personal assessments. He had witnessed Sarah's technical knowledge during store visits, yet supported Webb's exclusionary policies that maintained program prestige. As Sarah completed her registration, Harrison approached with practiced casualness, though his questions revealed genuine concern about her exhibition strategy. "That's an extensive event list, Sarah. Are you planning to peak for specific competitions, or attempting consistent performance across all disciplines?" His inquiry seemed helpful while gathering intelligence about her preparation methods. Sarah recognized the fishing expedition behind Harrison's friendly demeanor, understanding that information shared would likely reach Webb before she left the building. "I've been developing integrated training approaches that emphasize adaptability rather than specialization," she replied, providing just enough detail to sound prepared without revealing specific strategies. The conversation drew interest from other registration visitors, creating an impromptu audience for what felt like a preliminary competition. Sarah's presence had already generated discussion among local shooting enthusiasts, with opinions divided between sympathy for her circumstances and skepticism about her current abilities. The exhibition registration elevated these conversations from speculation to anticipation. Webb concluded the interaction with formal courtesy, though his parting words carried clear subtext. "We look forward to seeing what you've accomplished during your training hiatus, Ms. Mitchell." The exhibition format provides excellent opportunities for athletes to establish realistic baselines for future goals. The emphasis on realistic and baselines suggested expectations that differed significantly from Sarah's ambitions. Leaving the Mountain View complex, Sarah felt the weight of commitments that would define her competitive future. The registration represented more than entry fees. It was a public declaration of intent that created accountability and pressure. News of her comprehensive entry would spread through Pine Ridge's tight-knit shooting community, generating attention that could either validate her comeback or confirm doubts about her readiness. The weeks following registration brought subtle changes in how others interacted with Sarah. Customers at Precision Sports Outfitters approached conversations about her exhibition plans with cautious curiosity, clearly wanting details while avoiding direct questions that might seem intrusive. Store owner Frank Martinez had been supportive of her competitive aspirations, though he privately worried about the financial and emotional risks of such public exposure. Sarah's training intensified as exhibition dates approached, though she carefully maintained secrecy about specific preparations. Public ranges provided limited privacy for developing new techniques, forcing her to schedule practice sessions during off-peak hours when observation was minimal. Her modified equipment and adaptive methods attracted curiosity from other range users, though most respected her need for focused preparation. The physical demands of comprehensive preparation tested Sarah's recovery in ways that standard rehabilitation had not. Training across multiple disciplines required varied muscle groups and movement patterns that stressed her injured shoulder differently. Pain management became crucial as she pushed beyond comfort zones while maintaining the consistency needed for record-breaking performance. Pain had become Sarah's most familiar companion during the 18 months since her accident, but exhibition preparation revealed new dimensions of discomfort that challenged her adaptive strategies. The repetitive motions required for precision shooting amplified inflammation in ways that physical therapy sessions had not anticipated. Each morning brought assessments of pain levels that would determine training intensity and duration. Dr. Emily Watson, Sarah's physical therapist, expressed growing concern about the increased demands on her recovering shoulder. Their sessions had focused on gradual strengthening and range of motion improvement, not the intensive training that competition preparation required. Watson's professional obligation to prevent re-injury conflicted with her understanding of how much competitive shooting meant to Sarah's psychological recovery. "I can't recommend the training volume you're describing," Watson explained during their weekly session, her hands working on tight muscle groups that revealed the stress Sarah's shoulder was experiencing. "Your healing has progressed well, but pushing these limits could cause setbacks that might be permanent." Her concern was genuine, though Sarah detected the underlying assumption that the competitive goals were unrealistic given her circumstances. Sarah appreciated Watson's medical expertise, while recognizing that non-athletes often underestimated the calculated risks that competition required. "I understand the concerns, Dr. Watson, but I've modified my technique to reduce strain while maintaining effectiveness." The exhibition represents a controlled environment for testing these adaptations. Her response acknowledged medical reality, while asserting her right to make informed decisions about acceptable risk levels. The conversation highlighted fundamental differences between medical and competitive perspectives on recovery success. Watson measured progress through pain reduction and functional improvement within normal activity ranges. Sarah evaluated healing through her ability to perform at levels that exceeded normal expectations, using competition as the ultimate test of recovery completeness. Equipment modifications had become crucial elements of Sarah's preparation strategy, allowing her to maintain competitive performance despite physical limitations. Custom grips reduced the stress on her injured shoulder, while specialized stocks and trigger systems optimized her natural shooting position. These modifications represented significant financial investment, though they provided competitive advantages that extended beyond accommodation for injury. Local gunsmith Robert Chun had become an unexpected ally in Sarah's preparation, his technical expertise proving invaluable for developing solutions that enhanced rather than limited her capabilities. Chun's workshop had become a laboratory for innovative approaches that challenged traditional equipment assumptions. His willingness to experiment with unconventional modifications reflected his respect for Sarah's technical knowledge and competitive dedication. Most shooters resist change because they fear losing consistency, Chun observed while fine-tuning Sarah's rifle assembly. But your situation forced innovation that created new possibilities. His modifications had transformed Sarah's equipment into a precision instrument that was arguably superior to standard configurations used by other competitors. The psychological dimensions of exhibition preparation proved as challenging as physical and technical aspects. Sarah's confidence had been systematically eroded by months of rejection and doubt, requiring deliberate reconstruction of competitive mentality. Visualization exercises and mental rehearsal became daily practices as she prepared for public performance under pressure that would determine her competitive future. Sports psychologist Dr. Amanda Rodriguez had agreed to work with Sarah despite her limited budget, recognizing the unique challenges faced by athletes returning from career-threatening injuries. Rodriguez's approach emphasized rebuilding competitive identity while acknowledging realistic limitations that injury had created. Their sessions focused on transforming anxiety about failure into excitement about possibility. Competition anxiety often stems from fear of not meeting others' expectations, Rodriguez explained during their preparation sessions, but your situation is different. You're competing primarily against your own doubts and others' assumptions about what's possible. This reframing helped Sarah understand that exhibition performance was less about external validation and more about personal proof of recovery. Completeness. The weeks before the exhibition brought increasing attention from Colorado's shooting community, much of it unwelcome. Social media discussions about Sarah's registration ranged from supportive encouragement to skeptical predictions about inevitable disappointment. The attention created additional pressure while providing motivation to exceed expectations that many had set disappointingly low. Local newspaper reporter Jessica Kim approached Sarah for an interview about her exhibition plans, representing the first media attention she had received since her accident. The interview opportunity could provide positive publicity while creating additional accountability that might help or hinder performance. Sarah agreed to limited questions, carefully controlling the narrative while building anticipation for her competitive return. What would you consider success in these exhibitions? Kim asked during their coffee shop interview, her recorder capturing responses that would influence public perception of Sarah's goals. The question highlighted the complexity of defining victory for someone whose primary objective was proving capability rather than simply winning competitions. Sarah's response reflected months of internal preparation for exactly this type of scrutiny. Success means demonstrating that adaptive innovation can enhance rather than limit competitive performance. The exhibition provides opportunities to show that different approaches to traditional challenges can produce exceptional results. Her answer avoided specific performance predictions while establishing ambitious standards for evaluation. As exhibition week approached, Sarah's preparation reached peak intensity while her anxiety levels fluctuated between excitement and terror. The comprehensive nature of her registration meant that failure in any single event would be magnified by the public nature of her attempted comeback. Conversely, strong performance across multiple disciplines would provide undeniable evidence of her competitive readiness. The Mountain View Shooting Complex had scheduled Sarah's events across 3 days, creating a marathon challenge that would test not only her shooting ability, but also her stamina and consistency under sustained pressure. The scheduling seemed designed to maximize difficulty, though Sarah recognized it also provided multiple opportunities to establish her capabilities definitively. Final equipment checks revealed the culmination of months of modification and preparation work. Sarah's rifle assembly incorporated innovations that challenged traditional assumptions about optimal configuration, while her shooting accessories reflected adaptive solutions that had become competitive advantages. The equipment represented her journey from accommodation to optimization, from limitation to enhancement. The night before competition began, Sarah sat in her apartment reviewing the rejection letter that had catalyzed her preparation journey. Director Webb's dismissive language and Kyle Harrison's bureaucratic explanations now seemed like historical artifacts from a different phase of her recovery. Tomorrow would begin the process of transforming their doubt into acknowledgement of capabilities they had failed to recognize. Sleep came fitfully as Sarah's mind cycled through technical preparations and performance visualization. The exhibition represented more than competitive return. It was an opportunity to redefine what recovery meant and establish new standards for post-injury athletic achievement. The Mountain View Shooting Complex would witness either validation of her preparation or confirmation of others' limitations on her potential. Morning arrived with crisp mountain air and crystalline visibility that created optimal shooting conditions. Sarah's reflection in her bathroom mirror showed an athlete prepared for competition rather than a patient managing recovery. The transformation from injury accommodation to competitive preparation was complete, leaving only the exhibition performance to validate months of dedicated work. The drive to Mountain View Shooting Complex felt different than her registration visit months earlier. Instead of approaching as a supplicant seeking opportunity, Sarah arrived as a competitor prepared to demonstrate excellence. The facility's imposing architecture no longer seemed exclusionary, but rather provided the stage for proving that barriers existed primarily in others' assumptions rather than her actual capabilities. Part 3. The First Day Performance. The Mountain View Shooting Complex hummed with unusual activity as exhibition day arrived. Sarah's comprehensive registration had attracted larger crowds than typical quarterly events, with spectators arriving from across Colorado to witness what many considered either an inspiring comeback attempt or a public demonstration of misplaced confidence. The parking lot filled with vehicles bearing shooting club decals and sponsor logos, creating an atmosphere that felt more like a major competition than a routine exhibition. Inside the complex, Range Officer Kyle Harrison coordinated event logistics with visible tension. Sarah's ambitious schedule had complicated normal operations, requiring additional range time and specialized equipment setups that stretched facility resources. Harrison's interactions with other staff revealed his frustration with accommodating what he privately considered an attention-seeking stunt that would likely end in embarrassment for everyone involved. Director Marcus Webb maintained his office routine but positioned himself with clear sightlines to the main competition areas. His presence felt more supervisory than supportive, as if he expected to document failure rather than witness success. Webb's conversation with visiting Federation officials included careful preparation for potential disappointment, emphasizing that exhibition results shouldn't influence formal program decisions regardless of outcomes. Sarah arrived 90 minutes before her first scheduled event, carrying equipment cases that drew immediate attention from other shooters and spectators. Her modified rifle configuration sparked conversations among technical enthusiasts who recognized innovative solutions to traditional challenges. The equipment represented months of collaboration with local experts, creating assemblies that optimized performance within her physical constraints while potentially exceeding standard capabilities. The check-in process proceeded smoothly despite increased scrutiny of Sarah's equipment modifications. Harrison examined each component with unusual thoroughness, clearly hoping to identify regulatory violations that might provide grounds for disqualification. His inspection revealed technical innovations that impressed him despite his desire to find problems, forcing acknowledgement that Sarah's preparation had been both comprehensive and sophisticated. Other competitors observed the equipment inspection with professional curiosity, many recognizing advanced concepts they hadn't encountered previously. Sarah's adaptive solutions had produced configurations that challenged assumptions about optimal setups, generating discussions about whether traditional approaches might be limiting rather than enhancing performance. The technical interest provided validation that her preparation had achieved something genuinely innovative. Elena Rodriguez arrived as Sarah completed equipment preparation, her presence providing emotional support that had been absent during months of isolated training. Rodriguez's coaching background included working with adaptive athletes, giving her unique appreciation for the challenges Sarah had overcome during her preparation period. Her quiet confidence in Sarah's abilities offered a counterbalance to the skepticism that dominated other interactions. "Remember that you're not trying to prove anything to them," Rodriguez whispered as they reviewed final technical details. "You're demonstrating capabilities that you've already developed through dedicated work." Her perspective helped Sarah focus on performance rather than external validation, reducing anxiety about others' expectations while maintaining competitive intensity. The first event featured precision shooting at 200 meters, a distance that emphasized technical fundamentals over specialized equipment advantages. Sarah's modified rifle configuration would be tested against standard setups used by other participants, providing immediate comparison between adaptive innovation and conventional approaches. The event format allowed for official record attempts, with electronic measurement systems providing indisputable documentation of performance. As Sarah took her position on the firing line, the complex felt unusually quiet. Spectators recognized the significance of this initial performance in establishing credibility for her remaining events. Poor results would confirm doubts about her readiness, while exceptional shooting would force recognition of capabilities that many had dismissed based on her injury, history, and employment circumstances. The range officer announced shooting conditions with professional neutrality, though elevated attention was obvious in his precise articulation and careful timing. Wind conditions were minimal, with slight thermal currents that experienced shooters could read and compensate for effectively. Temperature and humidity levels created optimal conditions for precision shooting, eliminating environmental excuses for substandard performance. Sarah's breathing settled into the rhythm she had practiced thousands of times during her preparation period. Her modified grip and trigger system felt natural despite their unconventional appearance, allowing her to maintain consistent form while accommodating physical limitations that traditional equipment couldn't address. The rifle's balance and response characteristics had become extensions of her intentions through months of dedicated practice. The first shot broke cleanly with minimal movement, Sarah's follow-through maintaining perfect alignment as the bullet traveled downrange. Electronic scoring systems registered the impact location within seconds, displaying results on monitors visible to both competitors and spectators. The score drew murmurs of appreciation from observers who understood the technical difficulty of achieving such precision. Subsequent shots maintained remarkable consistency, with groupings that exceeded typical exhibition standards. Sarah's modified technique produced results that challenged assumptions about optimal shooting methods, demonstrating that adaptive solutions could enhance rather than compromise performance. Each shot reinforced her preparation's effectiveness while building momentum for remaining events. The final score for the 200-meter precision event established a new exhibition record, surpassing the previous mark by a margin that eliminated any possibility of measurement error or favorable conditions. Sarah's performance had been witnessed by Federation officials, whose presence ensured that results would receive appropriate recognition and documentation. The achievement provided immediate validation of her competitive readiness. Director Webb's reaction to the record performance revealed internal conflict between professional recognition and personal surprise. His assessment of Sarah's capabilities had been proven incomplete, forcing acknowledgement that his exclusionary decisions might have been based on insufficient information. The public nature of the achievement made his previous rejections appear questionable to observers who understood competitive shooting standards. Kyle Harrison approached Sarah after the event with congratulations that seemed genuine despite his previous skepticism. "That was exceptional shooting under significant pressure," he admitted, his technical appreciation overriding institutional biases that had shaped his earlier interactions. The record performance had been too impressive to dismiss or minimize through bureaucratic explanations. The second event scheduled for that day involved rapid-fire accuracy challenges that tested different skill sets than precision shooting. Sarah's shoulder injury had initially made rapid shooting particularly difficult, requiring extensive rehabilitation and technique modification to achieve competitive performance. The event would test whether her precision success could translate to disciplines requiring speed and dynamic movement. Equipment preparation for rapid-fire competition revealed additional modifications that Sarah had developed during her training period. Specialized stocks and trigger systems optimized for quick target acquisition, while maintaining the accommodations necessary for her shoulder limitations. The configuration represented another innovation that challenged traditional assumptions about effective rapid-fire setups. Spectator interest intensified as Sarah prepared for the rapid-fire event, with her precision record having established credibility that made subsequent performances more significant. Local media representatives positioned themselves for optimal documentation, recognizing that they were potentially witnessing a historic achievement rather than a routine exhibition. The attention created additional pressure while providing motivation to maintain excellence. The rapid-fire course required engaging multiple targets at varying distances within strict time limits, testing both accuracy and speed under conditions that simulated competitive pressure. Sarah's modified technique emphasized efficient movement and consistent form rather than maximum speed, reflecting her understanding that precision ultimately determined success more than raw velocity. Initial target engagements proceeded smoothly as Sarah's training proved effective under competition conditions. Her modified equipment performed as designed, allowing rapid target acquisition while maintaining the stability necessary for accurate shot placement. The combination of technical innovation and dedicated practice produced results that exceeded her own expectations from months of preparation. Midway through the rapid-fire course, Sarah's shoulder began sending pain signals that threatened to disrupt her rhythm and concentration. Months of training had prepared her for this possibility, developing mental strategies for compartmentalizing discomfort while maintaining competitive focus. The pain served as a reminder of her journey rather than a limitation on her current capabilities. Completing the rapid-fire course required drawing on reserves of determination that had sustained Sarah through her darkest recovery periods. Each target engagement demanded perfect execution despite increasing fatigue and discomfort, testing not only her shooting ability but also her psychological resilience. The final targets fell precisely as planned, completing a performance that established another exhibition record. The rapid-fire record generated more enthusiastic responses than the precision achievement, as spectators recognized the additional challenges that Sarah had overcome during the course. Her ability to maintain accuracy while managing pain and fatigue demonstrated competitive qualities that transcended technical shooting ability. The performance elevated her from accomplished marksman to inspiring athlete. Webb's interactions with Federation officials became more animated following this second record, his previous dismissiveness replaced by urgent discussions about implications for program policies. Sarah's achievements were forcing institutional recognition that talent evaluation methods might be excluding capable athletes based on incomplete assessments. The conversation represented potential policy changes that could benefit other athletes facing similar barriers. Rodriguez approached Sarah after the rapid-fire event with pride that reflected months of shared preparation and mutual confidence in adaptive possibilities. "You're not just breaking records," she observed quietly. "You're demonstrating new approaches that could influence how others understand performance potential." Her perspective captured the broader significance of Sarah's achievements beyond personal vindication. The day's third and final event involved specialized technique, demonstrations that allowed competitors to showcase innovative approaches to traditional challenges. Sarah's adaptive methods provided natural advantages for this format, as her injury-driven innovations had produced techniques that differed significantly from conventional approaches. The event offered opportunities to educate others while potentially establishing additional records. Technical demonstrations attracted professional attention from equipment manufacturers and coaching specialists who recognized valuable innovations in Sarah's methods. Her modified techniques offered solutions that could benefit other athletes, regardless of injury status, by challenging assumptions about optimal performance approaches. The educational value added significance beyond competitive achievement. Sarah's demonstration emphasized the relationship between equipment modification and technique adaptation, showing how constraints could inspire creativity that enhanced rather than limited performance. Her presentation revealed months of systematic problem-solving that had transformed limitations into advantages through dedicated analysis and experimentation. The approach impressed technical experts who understood the sophistication required for such innovations. The specialized technique demonstration concluded with Sarah achieving her third record of the day, establishing new standards across multiple disciplines within a single exhibition. The comprehensive success validated her preparation strategy while demonstrating capabilities that exceeded even her own ambitious expectations. 3 records in one day represented an unprecedented achievement in exhibition competition history. Spectator reactions ranged from appreciation to amazement as the significance of Sarah's performance became clear. Local shooting enthusiasts recognized that they had witnessed something extraordinary, while visiting officials understood the implications for competitive shooting more broadly. The achievements demanded recognition that extended beyond exhibition records to influence future talent evaluation approaches. Media representatives concluded their documentation with interview requests that Sarah handled carefully, maintaining focus on technical achievements rather than personal vindication themes. Her responses emphasized the collaborative nature of her success, acknowledging the gunsmith, physical therapist, and coach who had contributed essential support throughout her preparation period. The gracious acknowledgement enhanced positive impressions created by her competitive performance. As the first day concluded, Sarah's 3 records had transformed her status within Colorado's shooting community from former college champion attempting comeback to current record holder demonstrating exceptional capabilities. The achievements provided undeniable evidence that her injury recovery had been complete while revealing innovations that enhanced rather than accommodated her performance. The Mountain View shooting complex buzzed with conversations about Sarah's performance as spectators and competitors processed what they had witnessed. Traditional assumptions about post-injury limitations had been challenged by someone who had transformed obstacles into opportunities through dedication and creativity. The day's events marked the beginning of a new chapter in Sarah's competitive career. Director Webb's evening conversations with Federation officials included acknowledgement that Sarah's achievements warranted reconsideration of program admission policies. Her exhibition performance had demonstrated readiness that exceeded many current program participants, making continued exclusion difficult to justify based on objective standards. The institutional recognition represented progress toward the Opportunities that Sarah had been seeking. As Sarah drove home through Pine Ridge's familiar streets, the Mountain View Shooting Complex reflected evening light that seemed less imposing and more welcoming than during her months of exclusion. 3 exhibition records provided concrete evidence that her preparation had succeeded beyond ambitious expectations. Tomorrow would bring opportunities to extend these achievements while building toward even greater accomplishments. The rejection letter remained on Sarah's refrigerator as a reminder of how dramatically circumstances could change through dedicated effort and innovative thinking. Marcus Webb's dismissive assessment and Kyle Harrison's bureaucratic obstacles had been overcome through performance that demanded recognition and respect. The letter now served as motivation for continuing excellence rather than evidence of insurmountable barriers. Sleep came easily for the first time in months as Sarah's mind replayed the day's successes with satisfaction and anticipation for remaining exhibition events. Her shoulder ached from the day's exertion, but the discomfort felt like confirmation of achievement rather than limitation. 3 records represented the beginning of proving that adaptive innovation could redefine performance possibilities for herself and others facing similar challenges. Part 4. The final triumph dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains with exceptional clarity as Sarah prepared for the exhibition's second day. News of her 3 records had spread throughout Colorado's shooting community overnight, generating unprecedented interest in the remaining events. Social media buzzed with technical discussions about her innovative equipment and adaptive techniques, while traditional media outlets prepared expanded coverage of what had become a significant sporting story. The Mountain View Shooting Complex parking lot filled earlier than anticipated as spectators arrived hoping to witness additional record-breaking performances. Equipment manufacturers and coaching specialists had traveled from neighboring states, recognizing that Sarah's achievements represented more than individual success, but potential industry innovations worth studying. The atmosphere resembled a major championship rather than a routine quarterly exhibition. Director Marcus Webb arrived at his office to find messages from Federation headquarters requesting detailed reports about Sarah's performance and equipment specifications. Her achievements had attracted attention from national organizations, interested in understanding how adaptive techniques might influence broader competitive standards. Webb's previous dismissive assessments were being questioned by superiors, who demanded explanations for excluding such exceptional talent. The morning's first event featured long-range precision shooting at 600 meters, a distance that amplified minor technical imperfections into significant scoring disadvantages. Sarah's modified equipment would face its most demanding test as traditional wisdom suggested that adaptive configurations might sacrifice accuracy at extended ranges. The event attracted particular attention from technical experts curious about her system's performance limitations. Alina Rodriguez arrived early to provide coaching support during what would be Sarah's most challenging technical test. Long-range shooting demanded perfect coordination between equipment, technique, and environmental reading skills that Sarah had rebuilt from scratch during her recovery period. Rodriguez's confidence in Sarah's preparation provided emotional stability as pressure mounted for another exceptional performance. Kyle Harrison supervised event setup with meticulous attention to measurement accuracy and environmental monitoring. The previous day's records had eliminated any possibility of dismissing Sarah's achievements through procedural questions, forcing him to ensure that subsequent events met the highest documentation standards. His professional integrity demanded fair competition despite personal reservations about disrupting established hierarchies. As competitors prepared for the 600-meter event, conversations revealed growing respect for Sarah's technical innovations. Among fellow shooters, professional athletes recognized sophisticated solutions to complex problems, acknowledging that her adaptive approaches offered insights that could benefit anyone seeking performance improvements. The collegial atmosphere contrasted sharply with the skeptical reception she had received during registration. Sarah's equipment inspection proceeded without incident, as Harrison confirmed that all modifications met regulatory requirements while incorporating advanced concepts that pushed technical boundaries. Her rifle configuration represented months of collaboration with master gunsmith Robert Chun, creating an assembly that optimized performance within her physical constraints while potentially exceeding standard capabilities. The system had proven itself at shorter ranges and now faced its ultimate validation. Weather conditions presented additional challenges as mountain winds created variable conditions that would test environmental reading skills as much as shooting technique. Sarah's preparation had included extensive practice with wind estimation and compensation, though exhibition pressure added psychological complexity to technical calculations. The conditions would separate competitors who could adapt from those who relied solely on optimal circumstances. The firing line fell silent as Sarah assumed her shooting position, modified stance accommodating her shoulder limitations while maintaining the stability necessary for extreme precision. Months of practice had made the adapted position feel natural, though spectator attention created awareness of how dramatically her technique differed from conventional approaches. The visual difference emphasized that her success required proving unconventional methods could achieve exceptional results. Her first shot at 600 meters demanded perfect execution as Sarah integrated environmental calculations with technical precision under intense scrutiny. The modified trigger system responded exactly as designed, her follow-through maintaining ideal form, despite physical constraints that would have prevented traditional techniques. Electronic scoring systems registered impact location within seconds, displaying results that drew immediate appreciation from knowledgeable observers. Subsequent shots maintained remarkable consistency despite challenging wind conditions that affected other competitors significantly. Sarah's environmental reading skills had been enhanced during her recovery period as she learned to compensate for physical limitations through improved technical understanding. Each shot demonstrated that adaptive innovation could produce results that exceeded conventional approaches when executed with sufficient dedication and precision. The final score for the 600-meter event established a fourth exhibition record, surpassing the previous mark by margins that eliminated any possibility of favorable conditions or measurement error. Sarah's performance under the most demanding technical circumstances had proven that her adaptive system performed exceptionally across all distances and conditions. The achievement silenced remaining skeptics while inspiring equipment manufacturers to study her innovations. Spectator reactions ranged from amazement to technical appreciation as the significance of 4 consecutive records became clear. Professional shooters understood that achieving such consistency across diverse challenges required exceptional preparation and mental strength beyond normal competitive demands. Sarah's achievements represented something unprecedented in exhibition competition history. Webb's conversations with Federation officials intensified following the 4th record, his institutional resistance crumbling under evidence that demanded recognition. Sarah's achievements were forcing policy discussions about talent evaluation methods and admission criteria that had excluded her based on incomplete assessments. The conversation represented potential systematic changes that could benefit other athletes facing similar barriers. The afternoon brought Sarah's most ambitious challenge, attempting to break long-standing records in 5 additional events during a single session. The schedule represented an endurance test that would push her physical and mental capabilities beyond anything attempted during preparation. Success would require maintaining peak performance despite accumulating fatigue and pain from her recovering shoulder. Equipment transitions between events tested Sarah's organizational skills as much as her shooting ability, with each discipline requiring specific modifications and calibration adjustments. Robert Chun had anticipated these demands by designing modular systems that could be reconfigured efficiently, though exhibition pressure added complexity to routine procedures. The technical choreography became part of the performance itself. The fifth event involved precision shooting while wearing restrictive gear that simulated field conditions, testing whether Sarah's adaptive techniques remained effective under additional constraints. Her modified methods had been developed specifically for such challenges, as real-world shooting often required accommodating equipment limitations or environmental factors. The event played to strengths that traditional training might not have developed. Performance under simulated field conditions exceeded expectations, as Sarah's adaptive experience proved advantageous for managing multiple simultaneous constraints. Her shooting remained consistent despite additional gear that affected other competitors' form and comfort significantly. The fifth record demonstrated that her innovations offered practical advantages beyond accommodation for injury-related limitations. The sixth event featured timed precision challenges that combined accuracy requirements with speed demands, testing whether Sarah's techniques could adapt to varying performance criteria. Her preparation had emphasized versatility over specialization, developing approaches that could be modified for different competitive requirements. The event would prove whether adaptive thinking translated to tactical flexibility under pressure. Timed precision shooting revealed additional dimensions of Sarah's preparation as she adjusted her technique fluidly between speed and accuracy, emphasis depending on target difficulty and time remaining. Her strategic thinking impressed observers, who recognized sophisticated competition management skills that complemented her technical abilities. The sixth record confirmed that her achievements reflected comprehensive athletic development rather than single discipline specialization. Media attention intensified as Sarah approached record-breaking territory that would establish her among the most accomplished exhibition shooters in competition history. 6 records in 2 days represented unprecedented achievement that demanded recognition beyond local significance. National shooting publications prepared feature coverage while equipment manufacturers sought technical interviews about her innovative approaches. The 7th event tested Sarah's capabilities under extreme pressure as she attempted to break a record that had stood for 8 years. The existing mark had been set by an Olympic-level competitor using optimal equipment under ideal conditions, making Sarah's attempt with adaptive gear particularly audacious. Success would prove that innovative approaches could achieve results that equaled or exceeded traditional elite performance. Preparation for the historic record attempt required careful mental management as Sarah balanced confidence with realistic assessment of the challenge's difficulty. Rodriguez provided coaching support that emphasized process focus rather than outcome anxiety, helping maintain competitive mentality despite enormous expectations. The psychological preparation proved as crucial as technical readiness for managing unprecedented pressure. The record attempt proceeded flawlessly as Sarah's technique and equipment performed exactly as intended under the most demanding circumstances she had faced. Her shot execution remained consistent, despite knowing that millions of shooters would eventually analyze her performance through media coverage. The 7th record was achieved with margins that eliminated any possibility of luck or favorable conditions contributing to success. Webb's institutional resistance finally collapsed completely as he witnessed Sarah achieve her 7th consecutive record during the exhibition. His assessment errors had become undeniable public embarrassments that threatened his credibility within Federation circles. Professional integrity demanded acknowledgement that his exclusionary policies had prevented recognition of exceptional talent that deserved institutional support. The 8th event presented Sarah's ultimate challenge, attempting to break the most prestigious exhibition record in a discipline that had been dominated by male competitors with traditional equipment and techniques. Success would prove that adaptive innovation could challenge any existing performance standard, regardless of historical precedent or conventional assumptions about optimal approaches. Physical exhaustion began affecting Sarah's performance as her shoulder responded to 2 days of intensive competition with increasing pain and stiffness. The cumulative stress tested her pain management strategies while demanding perfect execution despite deteriorating physical conditions. Mental toughness became as important as technical skill for maintaining record-breaking performance levels. The prestigious record attempt required drawing on every aspect of Sarah's preparation and competitive experience as she faced the most difficult shooting challenge of her career. Equipment, technique, and psychological preparation had to function perfectly under conditions that would expose any weakness or inadequacy. The attempt represented the culmination of everything she had worked toward during months of dedicated recovery and innovation. Success in breaking the 8th and most significant record generated spontaneous standing ovations from spectators who understood they had witnessed sporting history. Sarah's achievement transcended individual accomplishment to represent proof that determination and innovation could overcome any perceived limitation or institutional barrier. The record would inspire other athletes while forcing recognition of adaptive possibilities. Exhibition officials confirmed that Sarah had achieved 8 records during the 2-day competition, establishing new standards across multiple disciplines, while demonstrating unprecedented consistency under pressure. The achievements represented more than personal vindication, but evidence that conventional thinking about performance limitations might be fundamentally flawed. Her success demanded institutional recognition and policy reconsideration. Federation representatives approached Sarah immediately following her final record with formal invitations to join the Elite Precision Marksmanship Program that had previously rejected her application. Webb's presence during the invitation felt awkward as his earlier dismissiveness contrasted sharply with current institutional enthusiasm. The reversal highlighted how dramatically circumstances could change through demonstrated excellence. Sarah's response to the program invitation reflected months of preparation for this moment, emphasizing her commitment to using any opportunities for advancing adaptive shooting techniques rather than simply pursuing personal achievements. Her gracious acceptance included proposals for developing training programs that could help other athletes overcome similar barriers through innovative approaches. Media interviews following Sarah's historic achievement focused on technical innovations and preparation strategies rather than personal vindication themes. Her responses emphasized collaborative aspects of success while providing detailed explanations of adaptive techniques that could benefit other athletes. The educational focus enhanced positive impressions while contributing to broader understanding of performance possibilities. Equipment manufacturers competed for opportunities to study Sarah's innovations and potentially develop commercial applications for her adaptive solutions. Her techniques offered insights that could benefit any shooter seeking performance improvements, regardless of physical limitations or injury history. The commercial interest provided validation that her achievements had created valuable intellectual property worth significant investment. The Mountain View Shooting Complex celebrated Sarah's achievements with recognition ceremonies that acknowledged her transformation from excluded applicant to record-holding athlete in less than 6 months. Complex officials expressed regret about previous exclusionary policies while implementing new evaluation procedures designed to prevent similar oversights. Sarah's success had forced institutional learning that would benefit future athletes. Rodriguez reflected on Sarah's journey during evening conversations that acknowledged how completely circumstances had changed through dedicated effort and innovative thinking. The coaching relationship had evolved from rehabilitation support to competitive preparation, demonstrating that recovery could exceed original capabilities when approached with sufficient creativity and determination. Sarah's achievements validated adaptive approaches that challenged conventional limitations. Local community recognition included proclamations from Pine Ridge officials celebrating Sarah's achievements while highlighting her continued residence and employment within the town. Her success story provided inspiration for other community members facing challenges that seemed insurmountable through conventional approaches. The local recognition emphasized that exceptional achievement could emerge from unexpected circumstances. Sarah's apartment now displayed 8 exhibition records alongside her college achievements, representing complete restoration of competitive identity through adaptive innovation. The record certificates provided concrete evidence that her recovery had exceeded all original expectations while establishing new standards for post-injury athletic achievement. The display served as motivation for continuing excellence in her expanded competitive career. The rejection letter remained on her refrigerator as a reminder of how dramatically circumstances could change through persistence and creative problem-solving. Marcus Webb's dismissive language and institutional barriers had been overcome through performance that demanded recognition and respect. The letter now symbolized motivation for helping other athletes overcome similar obstacles through advocacy and education. National shooting organizations extended invitations for Sarah to participate in elite competitions while serving as a spokesperson for adaptive athletics programs. Her achievements had attracted attention from Paralympic organizations interested in her techniques, though Sarah's goals focused on mainstream competition rather than disability-specific events. The invitations represented opportunities to influence broader understanding of performance possibilities. Equipment innovations developed during Sarah's preparation attracted patent applications and licensing agreements that provided financial security previously absent from her competitive pursuits. Her adaptive solutions offered commercial value that could fund continued competition while contributing to industry advancement. The financial recognition validated that her achievements created lasting value beyond personal accomplishment. Training opportunities emerged from coaching organizations interested in Sarah's adaptive methodologies and psychological preparation strategies. Her experience overcoming institutional barriers while developing innovative techniques provided unique qualifications for helping other athletes facing similar challenges. The coaching invitations represented career possibilities that combined competitive participation with educational contribution. As autumn concluded in Pine Ridge, Sarah's transformation from excluded applicant to record-holding athlete had become local legend while inspiring national conversations about talent evaluation and institutional barriers. Her 8 exhibition records provided undeniable evidence that adaptive innovation could achieve results that exceeded conventional approaches when pursued with sufficient dedication and creativity. The Mountain View Shooting Complex had witnessed achievement that would influence competitive shooting for years to come, as Sarah's techniques were studied and adapted by athletes seeking performance improvements. Her success demonstrated that perceived limitations often reflected conventional thinking rather than actual boundaries, inspiring others to question assumptions about optimal approaches. Sarah's story continued evolving as her competitive calendar filled with invitations to prestigious events, where she would represent adaptive athletics while pursuing additional records and achievements. Her journey from injury recovery to record-breaking performance had established new standards for post-setback athletic accomplishment while proving that institutional barriers could be overcome through exceptional demonstration of capability. The exhibition that began as an attempt to force recognition had concluded with complete transformation of Sarah's competitive prospects while contributing to broader understanding of adaptive possibilities in elite athletics. Her 8 records would stand as permanent evidence that determination, innovation, and strategic preparation could overcome any perceived limitation or institutional obstacle. 3 months after her historic exhibition performance, Sarah Mitchell stood before a packed auditorium at the National Shooting Sports Convention in Las Vegas, addressing an audience of coaches, athletes, and industry professionals who had traveled from around the world to hear her speak. The transformation from retail employee fighting for recognition to keynote speaker at the sport's most prestigious gathering represented a journey that continued to inspire conversations about potential and perseverance throughout competitive shooting communities. The convention hall buzzed with anticipation as Sarah prepared to unveil the 7 additional records she had achieved since her Mountain View triumph, bringing her total to 15 unprecedented marks that had redefined exhibition shooting standards. Her presentation would detail not only the technical innovations that enabled such achievements, but also the systematic approach to overcoming institutional barriers that other athletes could adapt to their own circumstances. Behind the scenes, equipment manufacturers competed for exclusive partnerships with Sarah, as her adaptive techniques had revolutionized thinking about optimal shooting configurations. Her innovations had proven commercially viable beyond disability accommodation, offering performance enhancements that benefited any shooter seeking competitive advantages. The intellectual property surrounding her methods had created licensing opportunities worth millions while establishing her financial independence from competitive earnings alone. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez sat in the front row, her pride evident as she observed Sarah commanding the attention of industry leaders who months earlier had never heard her name. Their collaboration had evolved from injury rehabilitation to performance optimization, demonstrating that psychological preparation could be as innovative as technical development. Rodriguez's presence provided continuity between Sarah's recovery journey and her current success. Sarah's presentation began with technical demonstrations of equipment, modifications that had enabled her record-breaking performances. Each innovation explained with precision that impressed engineering professionals in attendance. Her modified rifle configurations challenged fundamental assumptions about optimal design while proving that constraints could inspire creativity that enhanced rather than limited capability. The technical content provided practical value that justified the audience's investment in attending. The adaptive techniques Sarah demonstrated went beyond accommodation for physical limitations to represent advanced approaches that any competitor could benefit from studying. Her breathing protocols, stance modifications, and environmental reading methods had been refined through necessity, but offered advantages that traditional training often overlooked. The educational value extended her influence beyond inspiring individual athletes to contributing systematic improvements in coaching methodologies. Video footage from her recent competitions revealed the 7 additional records that had followed her Mountain View breakthrough, each achievement captured in high-definition clarity that allowed detailed analysis of her technique under pressure. The visual evidence demonstrated consistency that eliminated any possibility of dismissing her success as fortunate circumstances or temporary excellence. Her performance had been sustained across multiple venues and conditions. The first of these subsequent records had been achieved at the Rocky Mountain Championships, where Sarah had faced traditional elite competitors using conventional equipment and techniques. Her victory margin had been substantial enough to prove that adaptive innovations offered genuine competitive advantages rather than simply leveling playing fields. The achievement had attracted national media coverage that elevated her profile beyond regional recognition. Record number 10 had come during the Western States Precision Challenge, an event historically dominated by Olympic-level athletes with unlimited equipment budgets. Sarah's success using modified configurations had inspired equipment manufacturers to reconsider fundamental design assumptions while proving that innovation could overcome resource disadvantages. The technical implications extended beyond individual achievement to influence industry development. Her 11th record had been set during adverse weather conditions that challenged every aspect of her adaptive system, proving that her techniques remained effective under circumstances that degraded traditional approaches significantly. The achievement had been witnessed by international coaches studying American training methods, contributing to global recognition of her contributions to competitive shooting. The international attention had led to consulting opportunities with foreign national teams. Record 12 had established new standards for precision shooting while wearing restrictive gear, demonstrating that her adaptive methods provided advantages for tactical and military applications beyond traditional competitive environments. Defense contractors had approached Sarah about developing training programs that could enhance operational effectiveness for Special Forces units, the military. Applications had created additional revenue streams while contributing to national security capabilities. The 13th record had been achieved during a charity exhibition that raised funds for adaptive sports programs, allowing Sarah to demonstrate that competitive excellence could contribute to broader social goals. Her participation had inspired corporate sponsorships for disability athletics while proving that mainstream competitors could successfully advocate for inclusive opportunities. The charitable aspect had enhanced her public image while advancing causes she genuinely supported. Record 14 had come during a live television broadcast that reached millions of viewers, many of whom had never witnessed competitive shooting previously. Sarah's performance had introduced the sport to new audiences while challenging stereotypes about both disability and firearm sports. The media exposure had generated speaking opportunities and endorsement deals that provided financial security beyond competitive earnings. Her 10th and most recent record had been set just weeks before the convention, establishing new standards for long-range precision that exceeded achievements by Olympic champions using optimal equipment. The performance had been analyzed by ballistics experts who confirmed that her technique and equipment modifications had achieved results that challenged theoretical limitations. The scientific validation had attracted research partnerships with engineering universities. Industry recognition of Sarah's achievements extended beyond record. Acknowledgement to fundamental changes in how talent was evaluated and developed within competitive shooting organizations. The Colorado State Shooting Federation had implemented new assessment protocols designed to identify potential that might be overlooked by traditional criteria. Director Marcus Webb had been reassigned to administrative roles after his evaluation. Failures became apparent to Federation leadership. Kyle Harrison had voluntarily enrolled in diversity training programs while implementing equipment access policies that prevented discrimination based on adaptive modifications. His professional development had included studying Sarah's innovations to better understand how institutional biases might overlook genuine capability. The personal transformation had enhanced his effectiveness while reducing barriers for other non-traditional athletes. The Elite Precision Marksmanship Program had undergone complete restructuring to incorporate adaptive training methodologies that Sarah had developed, with her serving as primary consultant for curriculum development. Her influence had extended beyond personal participation to shaping how future athletes would be trained and evaluated. The systematic changes ensured that her contributions would benefit generations of competitors facing similar challenges. Elena Rodriguez had expanded her coaching practice to specialize in adaptive athletics, using techniques developed during her collaboration with Sarah to help other athletes overcome various limitations. Their partnership had evolved into a formal consulting business that provided services to athletes, coaches, and organizations seeking to optimize performance through innovative approaches. The commercial success had validated their methodologies while creating sustainable career opportunities. Robert Chun's Gunsmith Workshop had become a destination for athletes seeking equipment modifications that could enhance performance beyond traditional configurations. His collaboration with Sarah had produced innovations that attracted international attention while generating patents that provided ongoing royalty income. The technical partnerships had elevated his professional reputation while contributing to industry advancement. Medical professionals had studied Sarah's recovery and training methods to develop protocols that could benefit other athletes recovering from similar injuries. Dr. Emily Watson had co-authored research papers documenting the relationship between adaptive training and enhanced performance capabilities. The medical recognition had contributed to evidence-based approaches for post-injury athletic development. Pine Ridge had embraced Sarah as a hometown hero whose success had brought positive attention to the community while inspiring local youth to pursue ambitious goals despite apparent obstacles. The City Council had declared an annual recognition day celebrating her achievements while establishing scholarship programs for adaptive athletes. The community support had provided emotional grounding during her rapid rise to national prominence. Local media coverage had evolved from skeptical documentation of her exhibition attempts to celebration of her role in transforming competitive shooting standards. Jessica Kim had followed Sarah's journey from rejection through triumph, creating a documentary series that had been distributed nationally through sports networks. The media partnership had provided both financial benefits and authentic storytelling that enhanced Sarah's public image. Precision Sports Outfitters had become a pilgrimage destination for athletes seeking to understand Sarah's preparation methods while purchasing equipment similar to her innovative configurations. Frank Martinez had expanded the store's technical services to meet demand generated by Sarah's success, creating employment opportunities for other adaptive athletes. The business growth had demonstrated that inclusion could produce measurable economic benefits. Sarah's speaking engagements had taken her across the country to address audiences, ranging from corporate executives seeking inspiration to medical professionals studying adaptive methodologies. Her message emphasized that perceived limitations often reflected conventional thinking rather than actual boundaries, inspiring individuals across diverse fields to question assumptions about optimal approaches. The speaking career had provided platforms for advancing broader social understanding of disability and potential. Publishing opportunities had emerged from publishers interested in documenting Sarah's journey and methods, with her memoir scheduled for release alongside technical manuals detailing her adaptive innovations. The literary projects would preserve her knowledge while providing accessible resources for others facing similar challenges. The publishing income had contributed to financial independence while extending her influence beyond direct interaction. Educational institutions had invited Sarah to develop curriculum for sports science programs that incorporated adaptive training methodologies into mainstream coaching education. Her academic contributions had influenced how future coaches would understand the relationship between constraint and innovation in athletic development. The educational impact ensured that her insights would be systematically transmitted to new generations of sports professionals. Research partnerships with biomechanics laboratories had produced scientific documentation of how Sarah's adaptive techniques enhanced performance through improved efficiency and consistency. The academic validation had strengthened the credibility of her methods while contributing to theoretical understanding of optimal movement patterns. The research collaborations had generated additional income while advancing scientific knowledge. International recognition had come through invitations to compete in global championships where Sarah would represent American adaptive athletics while pursuing additional records. Her participation would demonstrate that innovative approaches developed in response to individual challenges could achieve excellence that transcended traditional categorical boundaries. The international opportunities had elevated her platform for advocating systemic changes in competitive athletics. Paralympic organizations had approached Sarah about participating in their competitions, though her preference remained focused on mainstream events where her achievements could challenge assumptions about performance categories. Her decision to compete primarily in traditional events had sparked discussions about classification systems and competitive structures. The advocacy had contributed to ongoing conversations about inclusive competition design. Corporate sponsorships had evolved beyond traditional athlete endorsements to partnerships that recognized Sarah's role in advancing technical innovation and social understanding of adaptive capabilities. Her commercial relationships had been structured to provide long-term financial security while maintaining authenticity in her advocacy for inclusive opportunities. The sponsorship income had eliminated financial pressures that might compromise her competitive focus. Training facility development had become another avenue for extending Sarah's influence, with plans underway for an adaptive athletics center that would provide specialized services for athletes facing various challenges. The facility would incorporate her methodologies while offering access to equipment and expertise that might otherwise be unavailable. The development project represented a permanent institutional contribution to adaptive athletics. Mentorship programs had connected Sarah with young athletes who faced similar barriers to competitive participation, providing guidance and inspiration for overcoming institutional obstacles through exceptional performance. Her mentoring had emphasized strategic thinking and systematic preparation while maintaining focus on technical excellence. The relationships had provided personal satisfaction while ensuring that her knowledge would be transmitted to future competitors. Policy advocacy had extended Sarah's influence to legislative discussions about funding for adaptive athletics programs and accessibility requirements for competitive venues. Her testimony had contributed to expanded support for inclusive sports programs, while raising awareness about systemic barriers that prevented full participation. The political engagement had amplified her impact beyond individual achievement to influence structural changes. The 15 records that Sarah had achieved represented more than personal accomplishment, but evidence that determination and innovation could overcome any perceived limitation or institutional barrier. Her success had inspired countless individuals, while contributing to fundamental changes in how potential was recognized and developed within competitive athletics. The achievements had created lasting legacies that would influence generations of athletes and coaches. As Sarah concluded her convention presentation to sustained applause from industry professionals who had witnessed her transformation from excluded applicant to record-holding innovator, the audience understood they had heard from someone whose influence would extend far beyond competitive shooting. Her journey had demonstrated that exceptional achievement could emerge from unexpected circumstances when approached with sufficient creativity and determination. The Mountain View Shooting Complex had installed a permanent display commemorating Sarah's historic exhibition performance, with her 8 records serving as inspiration for future athletes while documenting institutional learning about talent evaluation. The facility had become a symbol of how organizations could evolve through recognition of their assessment failures and commitment to inclusive excellence. Sarah's apartment in Pine Ridge had been transformed into a headquarters for her expanding enterprises, though she maintained residence in the community that had supported her journey from injury through triumph. The local connection provided grounding during her national prominence while demonstrating that exceptional achievement could emerge from modest circumstances through dedicated effort and innovative thinking. The rejection letter from Marcus Webb remained framed in her office as a reminder of how dramatically circumstances could change through persistence and strategic preparation. The document had become a teaching tool for illustrating how institutional barriers could be overcome through performance that demanded recognition and respect. The letter now symbolized the beginning of transformation rather than evidence of limitation. Future competitions would provide Sarah with opportunities to extend her record total while continuing to demonstrate that adaptive innovation could achieve results that exceeded conventional approaches. Her competitive calendar had filled with prestigious events where she would represent the evolution of athletic possibility, while pursuing additional achievements that would further establish her historical significance. The legacy that Sarah had created extended beyond individual records to encompass systematic changes in how talent was recognized, developed, and celebrated within competitive athletics. Her influence had contributed to more inclusive evaluation processes, innovative training methodologies, and expanded understanding of human potential when approached with creativity and determination. The transformation represented permanent contributions to athletic culture and social understanding. As evening settled over Las Vegas and convention attendees dispersed to implement insights gained from Sarah's presentation, her story continued, evolving through the lives she had influenced and the barriers she had helped remove for others facing similar challenges. The 15 records would stand as permanent testimony to what could be achieved when limitation was transformed into innovation through exceptional dedication and strategic excellence. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.